like sit around, see. It's kind of cool just to look at the tattoos. If I get too close to you guys, sorry. Oh, there's chairs up here for you guys. Let me set this up a little behind. How are you guys doing today?
Amazing.
Good. How was the seminar? How many of you guys took Tor's seminar? Very cool, man. Tor's the man, dude. Anybody take BJ Vet's seminar? Awesome.
Nice.
Yeah, BJ's the man. We kind of kept it simple this year, but so I'm gonna jump around a little bit. Thank you, Mark. You put them right there. I'm gonna be jumping around a little bit. Should I pass this around? Let people see it?
Oh yeah, they're gonna.
I mean, if you guys want me to pass around my prototype machine now, there's only one in existence.
Yeah.
Well, yeah, there's two, but yeah, this is so like if you press it, it runs just to see what I've been working on, you know, things like that. Also, everyone in here can go to the booth at the end because I released some tattoo pigment, and you guys can pick 5 colors that you guys want.
Oh. I already bought some. Yeah.
Just as a thank you and like you know,
Good to know, but I already gave you $100. Can I get my $100 back? I didn't open them yet.
I'm just gonna get this. Thank you. Ricardo's gonna help me up here. Go ahead. Ricardo's gonna sit up here with me. Yeah? Ricardo's awesome. I have a bunch of guys here that I work with. You know, I have Chris in the back, Joe, Tomac, Joe. Coda's the new apprentice at the shop. I have Adam, he's the new apprentice.
Oh,
My
congrats.
friend back there. Everyone might know Jake from TikTok. He's all over TikTok. But yeah, man, there's a bunch of people here. Felipe right there. Felipe just started in the desert shop. He was hiding over there trying to not say anything. But it runs at 13, so like the machine, it runs high because of the torque. So I'll explain that later. But I run it at 13. But it's not fast. It's like fucking, it's like that hand poke Japanese shit. That's like, when I went to Japan, I seen color tattoos that were so solid that I was really inspired by it. Like if you ever look at the Red Riding Hood back piece that I did, I use black and gray backgrounds on my work sometimes and colored foregrounds.
Not as well.
And I'll just kind of stick hints of color in the background, like just to manipulate your mind. And yeah, so the illusion of color, but it also has this like real clean look. So I was inspired by that when I went, but I was also inspired by how solid the tattoos were. So my mind's always spun on like trying to make a machine that replicates that idea. Because it's not about how fast a machine goes. It's about the quality of every, you know, the depth and the torque. So, but I'm gonna set this up,
bro.
Huh?
They have 11 coils.
Yeah, the coils.
Yeah.
I love coils, man. The only problem, I'll tell you the truth, like one of my favorite coils. I started with coils. You know, I used them for about 10 years. I love them still. I have them in my shop. They're beautiful. It's like a guitar. You know, it's hand tuned. It's beautiful. Made by an artist, and I love that. That's my favorite part about it. But the only problem is once that machine goes out of tune and you've used it for 10 years, you have to find another machine. So I used an Aaron Kane, and that's why I wear this. This is like my homage to like tattooing, because Aaron Kane was my favorite machine builder, and it inspired me, like Guy Atchison. And I wear this as my respect to tattooing because of what it's given me. But my machine that I had from him was my favorite, and it went out of tune. So then I went and bought like my pipe machines. I bought all kinds of machines because I wanted to stay coils. I had just gotten out of using pneumatics for like a couple years. I was like, I'm gonna just stick to coils and use one little rotary. And I had a cheap little rotary, like Chinese rotary. Wasn't even like a brand name, was just this little rotary. And I used that for like a year or two again. But I just had trouble finding a machine that like was doing what I needed to do. You know what I mean? And I even had good friends of mine like that build machines. I bought from St. Hendricks, I bought from Juan Puente. They were all like more for like black and gray to me, and they worked awesome for that. But the type of tattoo work I was doing, I was having a difficult time finding my groove, you know? And so they're running too fast. Like, so that's why I made that. It's slow running, you can feel it.
Yeah.
But you guys are the first one, I haven't even brought that out. Today's the first day I brought it out, so I haven't show it anyone.
I like the shape too, bro.
Thanks, man. So it doesn't roll off the table.
Yeah.
Because you know how machines always roll, and so yeah.
You can twist it too, like
Yeah.
if you're doing
Exactly.
crazy angles with it.
And like even if you take the power pack off, you can feel the weight. You know what I mean? Like
Yeah.
how it feels. So you can use a cord with it. Let me do this.
Mhm. Yeah, mine is terrible. When I'm breaking down every time, I'm like,
Well, as soon as you come out with them, bro, we'll buy some.
What'd you say?
So as soon as you come out with that machine, we'll buy some.
Yeah, I mean, you know, it was really neat just during the shutdown. The reason I'll give you guys a little just insight into like my life or whatever. I just been working with so many companies for so long, and you know, me and my dad, we haven't really had the best relationship. He's owned a machine shop for, you know, I don't know, 40 years, and it's been around since the 60s. I grew up in a machine shop. I would never say I'm a machinist or welder or anything. I don't know. I know shit about it. But, you know, he knows, and he has a lot of experience. He made stuff for NASA. He's made stuff for the military, stuff for Boeing. He's does like all aircraft stuff. And dude, there's chairs back here, guys, for you guys
There's a couple
to
here.
sit if you guys want them. Yeah, grab them. But yeah, I want everyone comfortable. But yeah, you know, so me and my father had like a reconnection during COVID, and he's getting older, and he's worked really hard. Came from Mexico with nothing, and I'm able to live the life I'm able to live because of that. You know, him coming from another country, working really hard, and he was a hard man to deal with growing up because he's from Mexico, and it's all about work and, you know, providing, and so that's all he did. And so I didn't understand that, and I understand it more, and he understands more too, because now that I'm a man, it's like we see each other differently. And so I've seen an opportunity to create something special and unique between me and my father. So that's really what that is from. It's more just me. Even if I only made the 100 motors that I have and never make another machine again, there's something special in that that's like a story, you know? Yeah, and so that's why I did it. And then with the pigment stuff, it's just natural for like my color stuff. I just wanted to do that, but. All right, let's get started. I don't know. I haven't done this for a while. To be honest, I had stopped that teaching a little bit just because it's a lot of energy, you know what I mean? And I always want to give my very best to you guys. So I want you guys to think about why you're taking this from me. When you guys come in here, you guys have maybe one major question, right? And I want to answer that question. So like, I really want you guys to think about, don't be nervous. If no one's asking questions, I'm just going to point a random person out. Just because I want people to interact with us. I mean, this is our community. This is the people we work next to. Like, we should feel comfortable. And I just want, there's no dumb questions. You know, ask any questions. So, even if you think I've already said it, ask it again. You know? Okay. All right, so what I'm going to do is I'm going to open up every seminar I've made and just kind of jump around. Is that cool?
Yeah.
I started working on a new seminar, and I kind of feel like this. So it was called Give No Fucks, Kiss No Butts. You know what I mean? Like 20 years of being a maverick. Like, I feel like I'm going to give you a history just so you guys can know where I come from, because I know every single one of you guys deal with bullshit. So when I started tattooing, you know, I did all styles. Like, I worked at a street shop, and I just did everything, you know, and I did Cherry Creek Flash. I fucking stayed all night tattooing, and it was fucking amazing. Like, it was an amazing time. I was taught how to tattoo by Mike DeMasi at Art Junkies. He was my best friend growing up in high school. We took art classes together. The guy's amazingly talented, and I owe a lot to that shop because it changed my life. Like, I'm here right now because of that step in my life. And also working with like Jamie Sheen at Ignition and just Kat, you know, putting me out there on her show. Like, I've had a lot of lucky opportunities that are unique. But with that came a lot of hate, a lot of anger, a lot of jealousy that I've had to deal with, and I dealt with it in an immature way. You know, I dealt with it with jealousy as well, and hate back, you know, and not really realizing where people are coming from. So I know we're going to talk about color, we're going to talk about the tattoos I do, but these are things that I think are important to share with you because there's healthy ways to deal with jealousy, there's healthy ways to deal with insecurity, and if you're making mistakes and constantly making mistakes in your life, and you know it's a mistake, then you got to change it, and that's the only way you level up. And I got to tell you, like, I'm not a religious person at all, but I'm a spiritual person, and I think like the teachings of like the Bible of sacrifice is what everything takes. It's more of a lesson of like, without sacrifice, you don't get to that next place. And sometimes you know what it is you got to sacrifice in order to get there. And so it's something to really think about because every time I sacrifice a piece of myself. So I'll give you an example. I really don't drink often. Like, I'll have a beer here and there with a close friend, but if you ask anyone else, before I was fucking partying at every after party, I was fucking going to conventions, I was living that tattooer style life, which is awesome, it's great, I think everybody needs to go through it. But at a certain point in my life, I had to take responsibility of like, maybe being a better role model. Like, Guy Atchison told me something one time, and it's something for you guys to consider. Because I know a lot of people don't think like this. A lot of people don't think no one's paying attention. But people are paying attention to everything. Even people you work with. Like, just say there's a guy next to you that you work with, or an apprentice, or a kid, or somebody. Everyone's looking at something. So, like, you have to recognize when you're making mistakes, and if you want to get to the next place, you have to sacrifice that thing to do better and get to the next place, and maybe inspire someone else. So Guy Atchison had told me one time, everyone's paying attention to you. You know what I mean? Like, be aware. And I was like 25, I was like, nah, no one's paying attention to me. No one gives a fuck what they're doing, what I'm doing. And, you know, as time came around, I had people tell me, like, they wanted to kind of live the way I was living and do the things I was doing. And there were really renowned, amazing artists that were telling me this. And I watched them kind of start to go down a road that was like, a little like, oh man, that guy's going down that road and he told me that maybe Guy was right. I gotta be better. I gotta do better. And so that's when I decided, like, look, I'm gonna quit drinking. I'm not gonna go and get fucked up, and I'm not gonna be, even though I love it. I love sharing times with Carlos Torres. He's fucking awesome, and we had amazing times around the world together. It was amazing. And I love that, you know what I mean? There's a chair back here, guys. I don't need them, come grab one. And so, you know, I'm going to tell you, when I sacrificed drinking, that was like the week Roman called me and was like, hey dude, do you want to buy the shop in Hollywood?
No way.
Yeah. And you know, it was really like interesting, you know, how that works, right? I believe in balance in life. Like, when things, so the Chinese have a saying, when good things happen to you, they say, oh, I'm so sorry. Because they know the back end of it, there's something bad coming. But when bad things happen to you, they say, oh, congratulations. They know something amazing is on the horizon. So you have to really think about these things and understand, like, sometimes everything isn't always so bad. There's good things and bad things, and it's like the yin and yang thing where, like, one half part of it is dark, but there's a little light in it. And the other half part is light and there's a little dark in it. So not everything is black and white. There's a lot of gray in life. So, you know, yeah. So I have a lot of, I don't know what this is doing. It's like going slow. But we're gonna go over a lot of stuff. I kind of want you guys to guide the seminar, you know, and go from there. Cool?
Yeah. We're all just pumped to be in this room here.
Yeah, you guys all feeling good? You guys aren't burned out by yeah, no, when I take a lot of seminars, my brain goes like fog, you know what I mean?
I'm just warmed up.
Yeah? So I guess, can you see?
You still got a golden shirt.
No? There you go, yeah. Yeah, so there it is. Yeah, man, you know, like, the reason I say that, man, is because I kind of wanted to go over a few things that I've dealt with my career. You know, I was going to show you this next slide, actually. So, this is me, right? This is me as a little kid.
So cute.
Yeah, well, the kids in school didn't think that. You know what I mean? Like, I grew up in the 80s, and bullying was on a whole all-time high. So I fucking got bullied all the time. I got fucked with all the time. And I learned real quick, man, that like, I remember I was in, and this is just a lesson because, and I have a reason for this story. So I remember, you know, being bullied in like first grade, second grade, third grade. And I remember in kindergarten, the sixth grader was like kind of bullying me. And I hit him directly in the nose, dude. And he fucking started bleeding. He beat the shit out of me. You know what I mean? Like, but I got that hit and I realized, man, like, dude, if I stand up, he never fucked with me after that. Like, because who wants to get hit by the nerve? Nobody wants to get. So I was like, oh, dude, we're gonna fucking, anytime someone fucks with me, I'm gonna stand up for myself.
Right.
The reason I say that is because it never ends. To this day, people fuck with me. People still try to fucking mess with my life, try to fucking just fuck with me. But you got to fucking stand up for yourself. You can't let bullies run all over you. You can't do things with, I mean, we all have insecurities and fears, but I'm telling you, that's why I say it. Give no fucks, kiss no butts, because fuck those people, man. Do you, as long as you know you're doing right by you, as long as you know you're doing right by the people around you and you're not hurting anyone, you're fucking doing good. Don't let people make you feel like you aren't. You're fucking amazing. And so you gotta be amazing and let them be amazing. By cutting someone else's tree down, it doesn't make your tree grow higher. It just makes you look like a fucking hater. You know, and I just want to congratulate people, you know, and be happy for them. So I grew up in the San Fernando Valley, right here in Pacoima. You know, my dad still lives down here. You know, my parents got divorced around, you know, when I was about 11, and then I moved to the desert and back and forth my whole life. So it's real natural for me to have a shop in LA and have a shop in Sperry because I don't really feel like I'm either. I'm a little bit of fucking desert rat dirty, and I'm a little bit of fucking LA, you know, Southern California. So I kind of feel like I ride that line, and I'm a little different with the way I think and things I like. This is the desert. The desert is beautiful, but there's nothing there. Okay, I started tattooing in 2001, professionally in 2002. I was about 21 years old. And I started Art Junkies, like I said, and I was in the middle of nowhere. The internet wasn't a thing. I was fucking working on walk-in shops and doing shit, and, you know, I was lucky enough to, when I had left Art Junkies, I was working about 3 years, I started tattooing out of my house, and there was this whole MySpace buzz, right? And I was like, man, I'm gonna get on MySpace, I'm gonna fucking, you know, put my work on there. And that's how I met Kat. And then that was like where the networking started. But that, like, the reason I say that, and I know you guys all know, but social media is such a powerful tool, and it's a free tool. It's free. So utilize it. Don't feel guilty about it. I know people are fucking haters on it. I know people dislike certain things, but it's yours. Don't be the dude that I was saying in the beginning. You know what I mean? Be the dude that's supportive and it stays in, you focus on yourself. If you focus on too many other people, you won't focus on yourself. So the reason I show you the desert is because the desert's the fucking middle of nowhere, and I come from there, and I'm here talking to you guys. So, like, I guess the goal is to kind of share with you guys that maybe I'll be sitting in your seat and you guys will be talking up here later. Like, that's what I would expect from you guys. That's the goal. That's the goal, to inspire back. You know, because that's what it takes in life. And I feel like, and Ricardo works with me, and I'm really proud of him, and he's supported the shop, and I love this guy. And, you know, I try to, you know, feed off these guys too. These guys teach me a lot too. This guy does all his tattoos with like a 3-liner, and, you know, they're amazing. And it inspires me to use a 3-liner, like, or a single. I would have never used it, but looking at his work, it's like, oh shit, you know, I'm gonna try that. It's fun. It's fucking exciting. And so I also, like, another thing too, he's a young guy to me. He's not young. He's like 32, but to me he's like a kid because I feel like an old man. And I had asked Boris. You guys all know who Boris is from Hungary? So Boris is one of my best friends. He's one of my biggest inspirations. I never knew what he looked like. When I started tattooing, I used to go to his website. And this was like, I'd go to the people's website and wait till they updated it. And I'd go like 50 million times, like even Bob Tyrrell and stuff, because I was waiting for them to update it. And then when they'd update it, it was like Christmas. I was like, oh, fuck, new work, you know, saving it in a folder on my computer. Like, it was awesome. But when I met Boris, he had this like youthful spirit, this like energy. And he'd been tattooing like 10 years longer than me. He's older than me, you know, but he felt younger. And I was like, how do you do this? First, he works out. I've let myself go this last year, so whatever. I'm trying to get back into it, but I'm not giving up. So, you know, I still do what I can, when I can, with everything I got going on. And that's an excuse, because I can do better. But Boris was like, you know, I get around young tattooers, where a lot of us are like grumpy fucks. If we were around people too long, or young people come in, we kind of like, fuck you, you don't fucking know how it was, and fucking whatever, however tattooing is. But I like the young guys. I like the excitement of the young people. I like the hunger, because I forget about that. I forget about how exciting it is, and how I'm so used to all this that I don't appreciate the small things that they see, or they bring, or how they view it. And that's what you want to do. You want to be around people that are motivated, hungry, because you're only who you surround yourself with. You know, and there's two ways it goes, right? They either infect you and you become them, which you don't want to be because you didn't like them probably in the beginning of the way they were. Or you can infect them and they will push you later and you guys all rise together. Like high tides raise all ships. So that's what I feel like. I want to motivate the guys I work with. I want them to be excited to be at work. I want them to fucking outdo me. I want to help them, and I want them to help me. And that's the goal of a team. So like, you got to ask yourself when you go home, who are you working with? Who's inspiring you? Who are you networking with? How are they making you feel? If people are making you feel like shit, fucking find the best way to either keep them at a distance or cut them off. It's unfortunate. But my circle is very small now. And it's like, I don't really want to deal with too many people at all, because I just don't want the negativity. I just want to be happy. That's the goal, right? And it's not even about them. It's just, I need to work on myself and be happy, and I don't want to be negative to them, because if someone's negative to me, sometimes I tend to be negative back, and then there's drama there or problems that just aren't necessary. So it's better to keep things simple and surround yourself with quality, you know? So this is a collaboration that I did with Bob Tyrrell. You know, I'm showing you this because Bob's one of my heroes. He tattooed the back of my arm probably 15 years ago. I'm dark as fuck. I'm always in the sun. But I love the sun. It just makes me feel good. But yeah, me and Bob did this. And, you know, hard work hard. When we did this together, I learned a ton from him. It was crazy because I was like, hey, Bob, let me use your setup and use my setup. And when I was using his setup, I was like, fuck, dude, this shit's nicer than my setup, like, for what it's doing. So I fucking full-on ripped him off, you know what I mean? But, you know, Bob's a good friend of mine, and I learned from him. And so I learned through doing collaborations with people, too, you know? And I just want to share that because I want you guys to think about even people you work with. There might be something that they know that you wouldn't know unless you, like, try their setup up, or try what they're using out, or do a collaboration with them, just to see what you can get, because they might be able to get something from you, and that starts to grow this, like, you know, build this new information that you would have never used, like the machine you would have never used. Trade machines with your friends. See what the machine's like, you know? So obviously drawing and sketching are super important. Drawing is the most important thing to practice. If you can draw it, you can tattoo it. I don't really know how far you guys are. So who's been tattooing over 10 years in here? And I've met you multiple times, correct? I feel like I've met you at least once or twice. Yeah, for sure. And who's been tattooing about 5 years? Who's been tattooing less than 5 years? Very cool. And so, huh?
The hungry man in the front.
Yeah, I'm excited, you know what I mean? Like, that's cool, you know? I mean, I'm excited, you guys have been tattooing over 10 years. You know what I mean? Because you guys are still doing this. That's important.
About 20.
That's awesome. That's even better. No, that's important. I know I've met you multiple times too. I've seen you all around, you know? So I appreciate you coming, you know?
Sure.
But yeah, so this I was going to show you guys this tattoo because there's a mistake in this tattoo that I'm going to share with you guys. Okay, I did this tattoo, and this doesn't go outside of here, hopefully, you know, whatever. But, so I designed this for a client, and I've done so many Catwomans, this Catwoman hadn't been done because obviously the bars in front of its face made it difficult. So I had to remove it, but this is where I put you need to know how to draw. So there was, I drew in with Photoshop, you see where the bars stop? You see how the bars stop on the bottom of the lip? I had to draw in with Procreate the rest of the face from memory and matching the colors. But this is where drawing comes in, where it isn't perfect, but it was enough to get by, okay? This is the tattoo after I finished. Ricardo's seen it, he was there the day I did it. The face is healed. The reason it's angled is because when I put the stencil on, I don't know if maybe I pushed up on one side and down on the opposite, so the eyes got wonky. You know, nobody would ever notice it, but I can manipulate it to where people don't notice it, so I just skew the photo when I post it. That's just a trick, you know what I mean? But I'm being honest with you because I want you guys to know, like, I make mistakes, and it wasn't a mistake, it was that these bars were in front, it was difficult, no excuses, but I seen it, and now I know, like, I'm like, I did my best to try to get rid of those bars, I made it up, I made the chin up. There was a lot of battles I was fighting, but, you know, that's how it turned out. But I'll go back if you guys want to kind of see. Any questions?
With stenciling, does that happen sometimes where you're putting the stencil on and the skin stretching or the type of body part it's on, it stretches the stencil, and then you have those like second thoughts?
Yeah, like when you put a stencil on, you want it to be even, you know? If you fucking go this way and then down, it's gonna like move. And so sometimes it's the shape of the person's arm, sometimes, I mean, it's just you gotta watch out for it. I did the tattoo, it could be multiple things. I drew it in wrong. It could be multiple things, but it's not that bad, but it's something that would irk me when I seen it, and I was like, fuck, I worked so hard on this thing, and that little off just frustrated me. And so,
the same thing before, yeah.
And I wanted to share it, because I feel like it's really important to share these things with you guys, because I leave hating my tattoos too. You know what I mean? And I'm frustrated, you know? So there's little mixes of stuff. I want you guys kind of directed. So head proportions are super important. That's kind of like, if you look on the chin, that's what I used there to draw on the chin, because there was no chin. It ended at the bottom of the lip. I just made the color up. And from painting from life, I just kind of like imagined where the shadow would fall. It isn't perfect, but it was enough to get by. But that's why it's important to draw. It's important to have this knowledge of shapes and size and proportion. Because if you do want to get into portrait work or those kinds of things, and somebody's missing the top of their head, or like it's a photo where this is missing, maybe you can draw it in and sketch it to where it works and does what it needs to do. But, so drawing the eye. Has anyone in here taken my seminar before? So you've seen this maybe before? So yeah, I'm just gonna run past this stuff. We're gonna go through a lot of information. But you gotta make sure you think about the sphere inside of the socket of a skull when you're drawing. And really think about how round and that curves around. In a photo, it'll look like an almond shape, but in real life, and if you look real close, like, I would say, if you guys can, just kind of look over at the person next to you. Honestly, I want you guys all to look. Okay? And just kind of look at the eyelid. I know that's weird. But I'm being serious. If you want to see, like sometimes you have to see how the top eyelid comes and goes around. You want to think about things as a sculpture as well. Even though you're looking at a photo, you want to know there's a side and something behind. So like if you had a photo of me here, you want to know that there's a front, sides, a back, a top, and a bottom. But a photo flattens everything. So that's why working from life is important to study. I used to paint from life a lot more often, but it's taught me a lot. It taught me about if I have a hot light on someone's face, this nostril is going to glow more than this nostril, you know? And just really trying to pay attention, like the blood flow in the eyes. It's things that photos don't grasp, you know what I mean? And it's thinking about deeper, taking it further, and asking questions. You constantly want to ask questions. Why? So like anything I give you today, take that for what it is, but then ask yourself, why? Why did he make me turn and look at somebody just to see the shape? Next time when you're talking to somebody, like what I notice when I draw from life, I tend to look at people differently after that. I tend to look at the world differently. Because I start to see things in angles and lighting that I'm like, that looks cool. It brings me back to a place. If I just tattoo, I never even think about this stuff. But when I start looking at people from life or looking at things or painting from life, like I went out to the desert the other day. I was like, I want a plein air paint. Dude, it was so fucking hard. The sunset was coming down. I was trying to fucking paint this thing and it totally failed. But it was so humbling. It brought me to reality of like, I fucking suck. You know? But you know what this does? I'm gonna do it again. And I'm gonna do it again. And I'm gonna do it again. And then one day, I'll be like, oh, it looks okay. But I didn't know you had to race the sunset. I was like, oh, sunset would be the perfect time. And then my friend that does it all the time is like, you got fucking 30 minutes to do this thing. Because we started talking after, and he's like, it's so hard. And I was like, I didn't fucking know. He's like, it's better to go in the middle, and like, middle of the day or later to like get the shadows, and it stays kind of in the same place. But sunset, it's like 30 minutes fucking gone. So by the time like I had the shadows in there, like it was just like ambient light and the shadows were all gone. And I'm like, I don't know where to go now. Like I'm fucking lost, you know? So it was super hard.
Wait for next day.
And I want to try to get. I was watching Nick Baxter and Guy Atchison do it, and I'm like, I'm gonna try it. And I'm like, fucking suck.
Better scout your location.
Yeah, I do. I ride out in the desert all the time, so like I definitely do scout it, but I get a wild hair up my ass, and I'm just like, I'm gonna do this today, and then I fucking go do it, and it's like, yeah, I wasn't prepared, but it humbles me. 7,300. Oh wait, I don't know what that is. Sorry, guys. So yeah, so I kind of show you guys this because I want you guys to kind of see just how I utilize. You see underneath the lid of the eye, how it goes around the sphere. Like I'll make sure to really make it go around. You know, really make it you know, like a sphere in a socket. You know. 7,300. Sorry, guys. All right, so lips and mouths. I'm gonna go over this stuff fast, because I want to get to your guys' questions. Yeah.
Just real quick question, on the eyes, when you tattoo eyes, do you use brown shaders, tight liners, mags, do you use?
Yeah, so lately I've been using like, depending on the detail, but I'll use like a 3-round tight liner. Sometimes I'll use a bud pen 3-round tight liner. I've been using quadra needles. I like them. They're pretty consistent, and they're controlled. They fit well in the machine I've been using. And I'll use a 5-round shader sometimes to fill it in, or a 5-round liner to kind of fill in the eyes, just to get all the details. That's pretty much it. If I need to do shading around, like just say, I don't know. These are older tattoos, but let's just say if I need to do like shading around like the eye socket area in the black and the grays, I'll use like an 8-round loose, like non-tight shader, round shader, and just kind of get everything in there. And yeah, is that good?
Thank you.
No problem. Submit. All right, so now lips and mouths. You know, I give you guys this information because if you're gonna do portraits, I don't know if that's what you guys want to know from me or whatever. But it's important to know the 6 circles. This is stuff you can find online. This is stuff you can find on YouTube. There's people that do a lot of courses on Patreon, on YouTube, that you can like, huh?
Proco.
Okay,
Videos on free videos on YouTube. Proco.
Right there.
Yeah.
Proco?
Nose. Yep. Proco.
I would do that, and all that information, bring it back to tattooing, because all that information exists in the world. What is it called?
It's PROKO. Stan Prokopенko.
It's good.
Stan Prokopenko.
You know Watts Atelier?
Huh?
Watts Atelier?
Watts Atelier?
Yeah,
See?
he's a student from there, and he does all these.
And the badass, right?
Yeah.
And you learn a lot. So you got to get that information, and you got to study that stuff in order to bring it back to tattooing, you know? So I'm not going to get into teaching you guys how to draw it, because it's like, I want you guys to take that and run with it. Because if it is something you want, you'll do it. And that's what it takes, the extra work. And here's duck face. So like, you know, he's making duck lips. Even, so I wanted to give you guys this because the shapes are more important than the details. There's a lot of detail in his mouth. But if we simplified the 6 circles, you know, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, it would still be the same shape. And so, do you guys all know who Sergio Sanchez is? So I was in London with Sergio, and we were drinking at this, like, it's called like the Pit Q. It's like a barbecue place that does like pork. And he's like a fucking mad genius at art. And he gave me a real nugget of knowledge that really made things make sense. He was like, details are the last important thing you need. It's shape and structure that you need the most. And he explained it like this. How do I know that that's Felipe that works with me in the back of the room? Because of the simple shapes, the structure. I can't see the details of his eyes. I can't see the details. It's the structure and shape. You got to get the structure and shape down perfect before you start adding all the details. Then later, when you master that, then you can start really refining all the details. That's where life studies and life drawings come into place. Because you got to make quick decisions. Like, that's why painting from life, and I've been told for a long time, in order for you to master portrait painting, you got to master plein air landscape painting. Because it makes you make choices so fast that when you come paint a portrait, it's easy. Because you have your lighting, you have everything set up. So that's something that I'm going to work on to get better at my stuff. Because even though it may not be that exciting for me, doing it once gave me a challenge that I want to go for. So you got to search and learn these things. You guys have any questions about this tattoo? Question. You got to ask me a question.
I mean, the darkest area of this tattoo, would you say is like on the right side of the mask, under the, like where the throat is?
Yeah, I would say the darkest are like the right. I use a lot of black, but yeah, like I would use it like against like the dark area, you know, right here. But there's a lot of black in this tattoo. Like I'd say this whole area where like 2 light sources meet is the darkest. So there's a lot of black in this area because it meets the 2 round parts of light source.
Yeah.
What are some blacks you like to use?
At this time, I probably was using fusion black. I used dynamic black, and right now I'm creating a new black. So I made like 5 different blacks, and to be honest with you, they were good, but my cousin made one on accident, and it was better than any black that I made. So we didn't have it ready here, and I was like, wow, like this fucking guy. So we're gonna call it Dan's black because Dan made it, and you know, it's I haven't given it to you yet, but it's thick. It's not for lining. It's definitely for pieces like this. We have a lining black that's nice, but I was looking for something for like the opaques without having to blow out. And Felipe can say, you used it out, Felipe?
Yeah.
Yeah, he's like one of the first people to use it. You have a question?
Yeah, did you draw the lips like that, or was it like just the photo?
No, it was the reference. I mean, I'm just, with these kinds of things, I'm drawing into things. So like, if there's an expression or like a little like, you know what I try to do is I try to find the one thing that the client tells me. So like, let's just say the client comes to me with Batman, right? And he's like, man, I just really love his rubber suit. I'm like, damn, I'm gonna make this fucking suit look rubber. That's my goal. Because that's what he wants. He told me by listening to him that he wants the suit to be mimic rubber. So I try to focus on that part the most and that be the most important. You know, and so I draw into things and try to think a little further and deeper and try to use the knowledge of like, what would make this look a little better? I follow the photo, but I pick out something that's the most important in the piece.
You know how sometimes you lose like some of the details where it's like the darkest on the image?
Yeah.
Do you still draw them in to
Like how?
fit those details?
What darkest part?
Like on the mask, right?
Uh-huh.
One side you can see the circle right here.
Yeah.
Do you always draw into stuff that like you can't really see because the picture's so dark?
I try to like, so like if I couldn't see, like let's just say I couldn't see this part, because I remember this being really difficult.
Yeah.
Because it's in dark and it's like hard to like, sometimes you don't see all those shapes, so yeah, dude, you have to draw in. And that might have been my mistake with the Catwoman. When I drew the other eye in, because half of, like parts of it were missing from the bars,
Right.
Maybe I drew it in wrong. Maybe the shape was wrong. And I should have taken a little time more. There's a lot of questions I had with that. So that's why drawing is important, because you have to put a little bit into it to make it better sometimes and take it further. That's what we always talk about. You know, like making sure to draw into things and carving into the dark. Like let's just say all this part's dark and there's this line here. Sometimes I will know that this is going to be darker, so I'll still use a black here, but I'll use a lighter black. And that's another thing I do too, is I study everybody's blacks. So like, I know whose black is darker than other people's. Like, so like, if you have Fusion, and Fusion's power black, or Intense is super black, those are fucking dark, like, plastic blacks. Then you have like, I'm pretty sure Dynamic's similar, but they mix it differently, so it's not as black, like the main Dynamic one everyone lines with and stuff, which is kind of why it doesn't blow out as much. Then you have Talons, which Talons is like a 9.5 black, maybe 9 value black. It'll never be as black as those other ones. Then you have Pelican, which is gonna be like an 8 value black, and it's never gonna be black. You can fucking pack it 20 times, 5 different sittings, and it's just always gonna be that greenish, grayish blue. So you gotta know, like, there's different blacks and you can use different blacks for different purposes. So like, when something's like under a chin, yeah, use your darkest black. But like, let's just say the black shadow goes right here and there's a t-shirt that's maybe like blue. You can use the other black in this area and it gives a certain depth because you're not just using like one black for the whole thing. You know what I mean?
What is the darkest shade of black that you've ever used?
I mean, to be honest, the one I'm making right now is pure pigment out of like where we get it. So it's just solid pigment. We mix what we need into it. That's been the darkest black that I've used, but I haven't seen it healed fully over time, so I'm waiting to release it to do that. But other than that, I mean, I would stick with like something like Dynamic at the time. You know what I mean? So Dynamic was nice. It's got a good consistency.
Like the triple black or like the regular?
I just use this black, the normal black. I like the consistency. It's not too thick. Triple black is like, I would say triple black would be comparable to any power black or a super black from Intense. Like, it's different,
Yeah.
you know? And so, yeah. Yeah.
How many colors did you use for the suit?
Probably, I mean, I put 50 colors out every time I touch it. Yeah, it's a nightmare. It's the worst part of the job.
So, quick question, and it's more of a technical one. As you're running up through the tattoo and everything like that, do you, like, would you go through and do, like, all the blacks and everything like that and then come back through, or do you render it kind of, like, from bottom?
So what I do is I get to about the 3 value, 4 value. So like, I go from 10 to about 4 value. I don't stick the real light flesh tones. I don't stick the real whites. Anything that I can wipe and get dirty, I just get through. And then at the end, I do like those real light stuff to not wipe black into it. Especially with working something like this that has so much black. I know black's gonna be all over the thing. So sometimes I'll even do all the suit, all the face, all the eyes, let the stencil wipe off on the face and mouth. At the end of the tattoo, put the stencil back on, get it done, or I wait till it heals, have them come back, finish it up.
Hey, how are you throwing the stencils back on? Just like
Yeah, I'll go over that too. I just kind of cut out, like right next to it. It's not that hard. I'll show you guys. We'll come to that.
Yeah, I got a quick question before we move on. So, I don't know if you do this, but I was curious if you happen to use, like, say that tone of the eye that is in the darkest part of the mask.
Mm-hmm.
When you pack that in, do you use that specific color, or do you do like put in something close and then you then cover over to kind of bring it another value up or down? Excuse me.
I mean, if you really like you're asking about how much black or how I do it.
No, I'm talking about the color that you picked out for that eye. Did you use that specific color? Did you mix it and got that color so you could put it in, or did you put something close and then you do a second pass?
No,
to kind of bring
sometimes
it to
I'll do a second pass later, but with this one, you're talking about the light source, the light on the part of the eye. So like, if you you can come up here and point it out.
Yeah.
So like you're talking about this part.
Like right in there. Yeah. Do you
So yeah,
use
it's that color.
It's the same color.
Yeah. So I just
Okay.
use that color. You can kind of see it.
Yeah.
You know, a lot of times the whites of the eyes are the ambient light of everything around you. It depends on what I'm doing, but like you become your environment. So like it's not like a light, like a bright light on you, but like if I get closer to the wall and this was a red wall, you become more red because of the reflection of the light. So a lot of times the whites of your eyes will be that. So I try to keep it simple because sometimes you can overcomplicate it and make it like where it's too much. So sometimes I'll leave the whites of the eyes skin tone just to create an illusion.
Right.
I'll do that a lot with tattoos.
Interesting.
Or with things like this, I know that there's like this color in the top, so I'll look for that. The quickest way to find the colors of shadows is to look at the background of the photo. Because the background is going to show you what color's in the shadow part of the piece. And you can use that. So look at the background, it'll add to it. But you asked a question. Go ahead first. You raised your hand first, no you. Yeah.
Yeah, you kind of answered it. I was gonna ask, do you ever leave skin breaks or is it just wall-to-wall coloring?
Depends, man, I do. I do leave skin breaks sometimes. It depends on the illusion I'm trying to create, because most people are like, oh man, I'm a creator. I'm like this, I'm an artist. I'm making these creations. I don't really feel like that about myself. I'm like a recreator. I'm just trying to recreate the illusion you're looking at something that I'm making. And a lot of tattooers, like one of my best friends for a long time, I haven't talked to him in a while to reach out, but we were real close, was Jeff Gogway. He was like, I just want to make a great tattoo. And I'm like, I want people to forget for one moment it's a tattoo when they look at it. Like, that was my goal. So we were completely two opposite ends of the spectrum. And in my opinion, there's no right or wrong way. Like, you know, I want to make a great tattoo too, but I just want to make somebody forget what they're looking at it when they're enjoying it, you know?
You said you use at least 50 colors in a tat, and I was wondering if you do ever mix in them, and if you do, like how do you do that?
How do I mix them?
Yeah.
I mean, the reason I use 50 colors is because, just say you're doing a painting, right? You usually have like your palette, right? The ones you always put out, and you mix between them. So every time I put about 50 colors out, it's not because I need those colors, that's my palette. So I use the same palette for every tattoo. So every palette's made to be able to create the same, like, yeah, the same, the same range, but also the same look and feel. So that way if I'm working on a sleeve, I don't need to outline the whole sleeve and put in all the yellows, put in all the colors. I can do the next piece, and when it heals, it's gonna be harmonized with the other one. It's gonna be the same color, like similars. You know what I mean? And feel like it's belongs in that environment.
How do you mix the colors?
Just in the tube, you know, like I have like I'll show you guys here too. Like I have the way I put my it's like a square. It's like a square. So like the first part of it's all shadows, and then the middle part's all midtones, and then the other parts where all the light colors are and the whites. And I separate them because the way I see color is, and the way I see everything, black and gray and everything, is shadows are one thing, and then you have your light source is another thing, and you just need the connection between them. And they have to dance with each other. They have to play off each other. So when I use all my dark colors here and I don't mix my dark colors into my light colors, it doesn't change the value. So like, I'll give you an example in the way I mix it. So like, let's just say I want to make a pink, but it's got like a muted tone. Okay. Well, you take red, right? And you mix white into it and it makes pink, right? So in order to mute it, if I took green and put it straight into the pink, it would change the value right away. It would make it darker because green's too powerful. So what I would do is I would take green, mix it into white, bring it to the same value of pink, and mix them together. It doesn't change the value, it just neutralizes the color. It's a simple way. It's called the +1 method. So you do a +1. So you just always add something to it. And with painting and tattooing, I do it sometimes. If you keep using white, things get chalky and light. So you want to add another color of the same value into it to create a slightly different hue if you're going to keep adding white to the color. So I try to do that to keep colors rich and separate. But does that make sense? Now we'll go over it more because I have it set up here.
Just one more question on
Yeah.
the same topic. Do you ever mix colors on the needle, like on the needle?
Colors on the needle,
Really
I do all the time. I mix colors on the needle all the time. You know, that's part of the fun. You know, I'll jump back and forth, but I don't. If it's a dark value color, I tend to not try to put it into a light value color because it changes the value of the color. So let's just say this: I have a dark green, dark red, dark blue, and a yellow ochre. The next ones I have a bright red, bright green, bright blue, bright yellow. Now, in the light source, I have a pastel blue, a pink, a pastel green, pastel like banana cream yellow. They all mix the same, and they're all going to do the same exact mathematical thing in your mind of like when you add Green to red is going to neutralize and make it like a brown. You can shift it warm, you can shift it cool. The same thing in every value of it. It's the same thing. So if you do it in the darks, it's going to stay dark. If you do it in the middle, it's going to stay in the middle. If you do it in the lights, it stays in the lights. So it's the way to control your values. To me, the value is super important. It's like black and gray, open skin. You have to make sure you push those values, because if I took a dark green and mixed it into that pink, and I used it on the light source part, it's going to not look right. It's going to get dark. And then your shadows are going to be dark, your light source is going to be dark. Now you don't know where the light's coming from, and it's going to be confusing for the viewer. So it's a system of like, I was taught a long time ago, if you create systems and you organize things, it's less to think about. So you want to organize things to make it easy on your mind. So that's why I put 50 colors out, because I might not necessarily use them all, but just in case I need it, it's there, and I can use it. So yeah, that answer a little bit, yes?
Yeah. Thanks.
And then this, I kind of show you guys because, we went over eyes, we went over noses, we went over mouths. I don't know what this is doing. And so I just kind of wanted to show you guys the portrait I did in New York on a guy. I actually did another little pass on it and added on the bottom. And he's a super good guy that looks awesome, healed. But yeah, I just kind of want to show. Sometimes if the background I'll do black ground just to kind of, do a dark. But sometimes I won't even use solid with black. I'll use like a pelican gray to like make it almost black, but it's like a dark silverish gray. Like I said, it was an 8 value, so I'll use that instead of black. And it just kind of holds it together. It looks nice. It's clean. So
On the reference photo, was it originally black or dark?
maybe, I don't know. But sometimes I do that just to do it because I know it's going to read better. Especially, so if you ever want to kind of practice what tattoos do with color, buy gouache paint. What gouache paint does is when you put it down, it looks real rich and nice. And when it dries, it looks like the values change. The darks get lighter if you mix any kind of color into it, and the lights get darker. And it's the same with tattoos. If you don't push the darks, because you got to think like, if you leave open skin, that'll stay open skin. If you put white on the right skin tone, it'll stay white, but sometimes it'll get darker. So you always have to make decisions on when to use it. Darks will always come up a value. So black's never going to be black on a tattoo or a skin. So you have to know that it's only going to be so dark. And so that's why like I do that, because it's like I want to push that value so that way when it heals, it comes up a little bit more. It's not as black, but it reads well. That's the point, is trying to get these tattoos to read well.
Question, and for the picture, do you ever, one thing that I deal with is with white, especially in the light tones, it looks very bloody. And do you ever let them sit? Or
Yeah, I do. I put, for me, I put a little bit of vegan blue on it, or before I would put Bactine, wrap it with a plastic, plastic, and then let it hang out for about 5-10 minutes, and then we take a photo. If it's still bloody, then, we'll get it later. But I try to do my best with that, All right, the nose, just want to talk about, like the shapes, making things simple. You really want to think about the box shape, you want to think about how the skull is and how there's like cartilage in there, how the bump to a nose is something that is natural. And this whole key shape, like when I used to paint with Michael Husser, all the time, and he gave me a lot of nuggets of gold just being around him. And he used to talk about this, I don't look like myself, right? You guys would be like, that guy looks different now. It's because you guys are so used to seeing me with glasses that this is actually my likeness. So when you really think about it, because you look at people's eyes all the time, your likeness becomes here. He used to call it the taint of the face. So this is my taint right here, you know what I mean? It's my glasses. So I recognize myself with my glasses. Even myself looking in the mirror, I don't feel like I look like myself, because I'm used to seeing myself with glasses. So this is a really important part of the face to show the likeness of somebody, because I look completely different, right? So, yeah, I want to show that. But yeah, really dive in, making sure you're paying attention to the eyes, paying attention to the nose, paying attention to the, the lips. Sorry it's so low. This is an older tattoo I did, but I wanted to show it because sculptors are the best at doing that. Because the sculptor had to think about every shape And that's why they're so nice to tattoo, because the sculptor was a master to carve out all those things, the sides, the tops, the bottoms, the front, the back. And so it's really easy to see all the shapes. And it could be better, you know, I mean, it's an older one. But, you know, you can see the lips, because it was a master artist that made it. You can see how this goes around and curves, how this curves around. Because the sculptor knew he would work from life, you know? Obviously, Michelangelo. Planes of the face. Things can look smooth, but this is what I'm showing you. When you have a tattoo like that, it's really sculpted, but you have soft edge to the sculpture, you know? You really want to pay attention to the planes. Pay attention to the, and Ricardo does it a lot. He really pays attention to like the tops, the sides, the bottom, and really focuses on that. That's like your thing, right? So I want to show you how I apply it with color. Like, you can see the cheek, you can see the bottom, you can see the top side of the head, you can see the forehead. And I could even push it further, you know, depending. But I really try to pay attention to, there's a skull underneath there. There's cheekbones, you know, paying attention to what's there. Really paying attention to the, like, it's simple. Look at the nose. There's a bottom, a side, and a top. Simple. Maybe add a little white highlight on this side. And when painting from life, we would do that. Like, we would do all the things, and not all the little nuances were in there. You would just add that little highlight, and it was like, oh, the nose is popping out. You had the shadow in the right spot, you had the midtones in the right spot, you had the highlight in the right spot, and it was like, oh, it looks 3D. It was enough information. You don't have to put all the detail, you just have to know how to give the information. You're telling a story. So, like, you got to make decisions, and that's the thing about painting from life or doing anything from life, because people are moving, things are moving. It makes you make decisions. It's an exercise to make you think quicker and to think about what's important. So that's why I stress people to do this. Same thing here. You know, these aren't perfect. These are just things, like, you squint your eyes at it, you can see like how like this is like the skull, and you can see the socket. Like, really paying attention to like the structure of that, you know? Like, there's a side here, there's the top, you know? Just things like that. And like what I was saying is, like, there's a certain colors I use in here, there's certain colors that I'll use in the middle, and then there's certain colors I'll use mixed with more white in the white, just to push those contrasts.
I wanted to know for the previous photo if you have like a reference of the stencil you created for that.
I don't, but I can show you other tattoos with the reference. Like with the, I'm gonna go over that because they aren't perfect. They're definitely off with color like these.
So, like you said, my last question for background was like a dark tone. How do you end up like the other previous photo, like, and then this one? How do you choose your background color?
This one is kind of more like, I kind of take the idea of what I see behind it, and then I just kind of run with it. And you can see, like, if you look at it, the back of the head has a lot more green in that like darker area. It's not necessarily in shadow, but it's not the light source. It's like that mid-tone where it changes over. I use that color in it to create like harmony, to tell a story. And I mean, I've even played with it where I make a completely different color. But the only thing about that is it'll take away from the realism. That's actually like becomes stylistic choices, you know? But yeah, I just try to choose what's in the photo.
So you're not shooting for like a photorealistic.
I mean,
you're shooting for more like you're putting in your knowledge of like what you've learned drawing and painting.
Okay, so I'll give you guys a lesson on how I see things. So everybody put your finger out in front of you and stare at it as good as you can, as clear as you can, okay? Now close one eye and look at the tip of the finger. Now open your eye and look at it again. Close your eye again. Open it. You see the difference? It's super sharp with one eye, and it's blurry with two. So the difference between realism and photorealism is realism's from life, and it requires two eyes. So a little blurriness will create work to be more lifelike. Sharpness is a tool when the camera was invented. So when the camera was invented, photorealism came in and made everything sharp. And it is sharp. But like I try not to get so lost in like the crisp photorealism, which I have been. I have at times do that. Just because it's natural looking at a photo to do that. But I try to bring knowledge or experience from other things just to carve out my own unique thing
Yeah.
that my brain does. Because I'm not really trying to implement, like even with like the Catwoman I showed, I would rather do the challenge of making that work and maybe it not being the most realistic piece. But I know I challenged myself to do something different that I know people have seen the photo, but maybe haven't taken that leap. So it's a challenge for myself. And so yeah, so when the camera was invented, then it's like, okay, take a photo. That's a filter, it's in your camera. You plug it into a computer. Now it's filtered again into Photoshop. You adjust it and print it. It's got filtered from the computer to your printer. The printer makes all the decisions. So that's where real drawing from life or painting from life will accelerate you because you have to make the decisions. There's no more filter. You have to make choices. And so that's why it's important, in my opinion. You know, I mean, photos, I like working from like a simple photo. Like if you guys ask me, and it's something, I always like to give credit to people that I work with because of something I learned. So for a long time, I would use like photo quality paper and print it through my printer. And I even tried using the iPad, which iPad, if you tattoo from it, it's a lot similar to life. I would say an iPad or a television tattooing from it is going to be the closest you can get from life, even with the photo, because there's so much light coming at you, you have to make decisions on the colors. If you put everything in there, you're going to kind of overdo it. So what I do from Rojas, from working with Carlos Rojas, his portraits were like real muted, real beautiful. And I was like, man, how's this guy doing that? So like, I'm like always analyzing and looking, and he never used photo paper. He would use regular paper because paper absorbs all the pigment from the printer and makes it muted. And so I liked that. So I adapted to that, and that's what I use. And it helps you make decisions faster because it makes decisions for you. So, you know. Oh shit, wanna go back?
Yep.
But you see like the little decisions? Yeah, go ahead.
You know how you were talking about when you draw from life, you gotta make quick decisions? What do you feel like in a tattoo is the most important part? I know it's the whole thing, but what grabs your attention to make something like pop the most?
What, like just these two little hairs or something? Is that, no, I'm saying like little decisions, like, what kind of tattoo are you talking about?
Like in general, like even for black and gray, you know how
Yeah.
like black and gray adding more contrast to make the pictures pop more and stuff like that.
I mean, so what I was always taught is like, let's just say black and gray. So like your highlighter, you choose to do one white highlight in the whole tattoo. That white highlight is most likely going to be next to the darkest dark in the whole tattoo.
Yeah.
That's what's going to make you look there. So like, let's just say open skin compared to like the darkest part of the tattoo. Anywhere where open skin meets the darkest part is going to be where your eye goes. Especially the harder the edge it is, the more your eye is going to be drawn there. So, you know, if you guys took Carlos Torres' seminar, he does it perfectly. Because he will do like all the values in the foreground, but then the background he eliminates values. He'll eliminate black, he'll eliminate light, and he'll keep doing that every time things go back. You know, in order to create less contrast in the background, more contrast in the foreground. And there's people that do it opposite, like Nick Baxter. He would do, if he used black in the foreground, there was no black in the background, like solid black. But if he used black in the background, there was no solid black in the foreground. So it's really creating contrast, because contrast isn't only color. It isn't only like, you know, opposite colors. Contrast is texture. Contrast is light source. Contrast is, you know, really anything, huh? Edges, for sure. So really choosing your edges. What's hard, like, if something's really hard edge, you're gonna look there. And if something's real soft edge, you're not gonna look there. So pushing and pulling what you make hard, what you make soft. So yeah, any other questions? Skull and bones, attention to the skull underneath the skin. I just wanted to talk about, like, you know, paying attention to the shapes, paying attention to what, like when you squint your eye at the darker piece, you can see the skull in it. Really using references that show that structure, that shape, you know? So really paying attention to these things, really trying to push it, you know? How are you guys? You guys can see? I feel like, is it too far?
Oh, it's perfect.
Oh, you sure? Make sure. Okay, cool. You guys have any questions about this?
Just for color portraits in general, and particularly when it has a shadow like this, I know that, like, I've seen a lot of your work where the reference is one color and one tone as far as, like, the skin is concerned. And, whether you change it up because of the skin that it's going on or simply because of the colors that you have at the time, I noticed that you'll choose, like, a base set of colors, and you'll commit to it and base the shadows off of that set.
Yeah.
But how do you commit to the colors when they're not the actual colors you're referencing from the photo?
I mean, they're close enough. You know what I mean? Like, if I fixate on every small nuance of color, I'm gonna take, I mean, I used to do that, honestly. I used to really fixate on, like, everything needs to be perfect. Every color needed to match. And really looking at, like, I like to analyze people's work and ask questions why that person's doing that. So let's just say it's Sergey. Like, he's been working at Valley's shop for about a couple years now, or a year. And that guy has given me little nuggets of things to think about, like, outside of what I do. So, like, if I try to do every nuance of every muted color, the whole tattoo will look muted, which I do a lot. But he was telling me how he likes to oversaturate certain colors. And also this guy, David Chevetz, that I took a painting course from, oversaturates colors in certain areas. So it makes me think about that a lot and how maybe I'll approach tattoos later. So it's constantly evolving. So I know you're asking about this tattoo or like the last one, how I commit to the colors. I mean, when I put the palette out and I start to go for it, and if it's not exactly the same, I just keep going with the rhythm I'm going. Because no one's gonna take the fucking reference and be like, let me see. And if they do, that's cool. But, you know, I mean, if they do it, that's up to them. It doesn't bother me if they do that. Like, it's fine, you know? So I try not to be perfect. I try to get as close as I can, enjoy the process. My question is always this. If I'm doing a Catwoman, right? And in the end, people are like, yeah, that's Catwoman, it's Michelle Pfeiffer. I did my job. Like, I'm not really looking for them to be like, it's awesome if they're like, wow, that's the most amazing Catwoman I've ever seen, or like, oh, that's beautiful, you know, it looks real. As long as they know it's Michelle Pfeiffer and not Michelle Pfeiffer's cousin, you know what I mean, and the suit, I'm cool with that. So that's I try not to put that much stress because I did it before, and sometimes you tend to overwork tattoos when you do that because you keep adjusting, instead of committing and moving on, committing, moving on. So commitment and moving on and getting it done in a timely manner, not killing your client. You can always have them come back and adjust it once it heals. It's taking the time it takes to get it right. You don't need to always get it right the first time. So yeah, we'll go over more color stuff. So I always do like a little motivation stuff, you know, just believe in yourself. You can do whatever you put your mind to. So like, whatever you want to do, you know, like, I mean, I didn't know making tattoo pigments was gonna be such a fucking bitch. Like, no joke, like, mixing this shit and fucking doing it, like, real tattooing, you know, like, old school way was fucking crazy. But I committed. And so I was like, I'm gonna fucking see this through. And that's what I did. And there was many times where I'm like, man, what am I getting myself into? Like, this is fucking wild. But you know what? We all tend to give up when things get hard, or when it's not what you think it was, or as easy as you thought it was. You tend to want to just fucking go the other way. Or I'm like, okay, what am I learning from this? What can I get from this? And what was my goal? My goal is to make the best pigments for me. I mean, I'm sorry that sounds selfish, but it's for me because I want the colors I want when I paint. I want the things I want when I tattoo the same. And so it's made for me. And with tattoo pigments, I'd rather make a big batch of it and fucking offer it than just make little batches and nightmare, dude. I used to make my needles and shit, I'm sure you know. They made needles back in the day, and it was a different way, dude. It was just a different time. So.
You don't even have the jigs anymore.
The needle jig does a little bit, but you know, I used to use a needle jig. You know, I still have all that stuff, man. I have my autoclave in storage. I have, you know, all my stuff, and it's just crazy, man. Like looking back about that time. You know, I'll share with you guys something. Because I'm a procrastinator, man. Like, I'm late, I'm not punctual, I live my own way. I'm definitely not like this fucking rigid dude. So I used to go to work and I would have to make my needles right when my clients would be sitting there. I'm like, dude, give me 20 minutes. And I'm like fucking back there soldering and cleaning them and putting them in the autoclave and, oh man, or you know, rarely I would do it on Sunday and just do like 50 needles. And that was when I was like, oh, this is gonna be awesome, you know? But then I was like OCD and I'd open a needle and I was like, this one doesn't feel right. And I fucking put it away. I know that sounds insane, but I did that for a long time. And now I just don't even care. I'm just like, fucking, oh, it's bar band. Just hit the table. You didn't see that, right? Oh, you did? Okay, I gotta fucking throw this away. But when they say nothing or their face doesn't change, it's like, I know all you guys have done it. I know everybody's done it. That's why I say it.
He just makes it a shader.
Oh, dude, one of my
It just
friends
becomes a
was
shader.
at Psycho City, and he was telling me that when he apprenticed, that when he graduated from his apprenticeship, all the guys in the shop tattooed their name on his ass. And he said, this guy Jojo Ackerman, made the tattooer, he said that Jojo was like, all right, you ready? He was like, yeah. My buddy's Matt. He owns a ink company as well. It's called El Blanco, and he works in Long Beach, and he's a fucking badass tattooer. He makes it by hand. It's a great pigment too. Like, that guy's badass. So I'd say try his stuff out too. I've used his black and stuff. He's a good guy. I was just talking to him yesterday because he's seen I release pigments, and he was like, "You releasing pigments?" You know, and so I want to share that. But I'll answer right now. But before Jojo was gonna tattoo him, Jojo ran the needle on the metal table for like 30 seconds. Oh. And then fucking tattooed him. To me, that's what I like about tattooing. Can't do that shit no more. Oh, what was your question?
Okay, it's not really a question, I don't mean to interrupt, but we came all the way to Nashville because he's a tattoo artist and you inspired him.
Fuck yeah.
So much, and we have a plane to catch in like, probably like 2 hours.
Okay.
And I just wanted you to meet him.
What's your name, man?
Steel. Everybody call me Steel.
All right, well, come shake my hand, Steel.
Can I take
Yeah, come on, dude. Let's take the picture. Let's get it.
Wait, give me your phone. Give me your phone. He's so nervous. He was hurting so much.
She's a keeper.
Take your mask off. This is not the right phone.
No, it's out of memory.
Oh my gosh, really?
You made it.
I hope it sticks on.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Yeah,
And then also, it'd just be so awesome if you could just like.
Oh, yeah. I don't have a pin, though. I don't have a pin, though. Oh, this for me to sign it, or what am I doing?
Oh, that'd be awesome.
No, I'll keep it. It's mine to keep.
Somebody
But that's
No.
yours to keep.
Okay, I'll keep it in. You get tattooed this weekend?
Yes, he
Oh,
did.
that's awesome. That's good. Hey.
I don't.
No, that's why I'm keeping it. It's mine.
We got more.
I didn't know. I mean, it's not even black, bro.
Yeah, that's all I got.
Oh, right there, look.
You want a black one?
I got a pen, not a marker.
No, this one is fine.
You don't know what.
Tattoo, man, I'll probably still be doing some housework.
Really?
Yeah.
Oh, I didn't mention it, so because you came in here, were you taking the seminar? Is that what?
Yeah.
Oh, anybody that takes the seminar, you can come get, or if you have to leave early, you can go to the booth right now, and they'll help you. Let them know that I said it.
Okay.
I should probably, if you want to text Dan maybe for a second.
Okay.
You can pick out 5 colors that you want.
Oh,
Yeah,
shit.
yeah.
Yeah, I appreciate it.
Hey, safe travels. Thank
Thank you. I'm so sorry, y'all.
Question on whites. Do you approach whites differently at all? Do you change your speed of your machine? Do you
No, it's all the same. I mean, that's a little like, I don't know, like hard to. No, it's all the same. I kind of, oh shit, wait, sorry. Yeah, I just kind of keep it the same consistency. The thing with whites and light colors is they bleed a lot, and you tend to want to keep going over and you overwork them. If it's bleeding, and you're working with a good machine, good pigment, and the skin's okay, all the other colors went in well, most likely it's in there. So just trust it and don't move on. Because, and you can kind of tell after you do colors for so long, the consistency of the bleeding and the way it looks, it's in there. You get used to it. That comes with time. So you just gotta trust the process. You gotta trust what you're doing. You gotta believe. And worst case scenario, you gotta do a touch-up. But I'd rather have a touch-up than scar somebody because sometimes it makes it hard. And to be honest, I've been using my machine on this, and I made a white for this. It's called unbleached white, because when you paint, you can use unbleached titanium. So this is kind of a similar thing. So it's to help you get all those really, really white values. It's like almost a white color. I made it with purple and yellow, with very little, and then a lot of white. But what it does is it creates a gray, like a neutralized grayish color that's very, you can shift it purple or yellow if you want. But it's a way to get all these parts in here, you know, and then up here you can use your solid white. So it's just a way to get those real, real white tones. Like I made it for stuff like this, you know. But other companies I would use like bone or something like that.
What needle movement do you like use to type the white in?
I use like a 15, 17. You know, depending. I use a lot of 5 mags, man. Like, so the machine I have, I use a 5 mag a lot. I use a lot of round shaders. But I also use like 15s, 25s. I actually see it like brushes. So when I was telling you guys earlier, I went from like using coils and stuff, then I went to Numas, and then I came back to like a hybrid of like cheap rotaries and coils. I was in Europe and I was looking at Randy Engelhardt, and he was using the Cheyenne, and he had 10 needles out. And I have 4 machine setups. And I was like, oh, he already beat me. Like, there's no way I can compete. I got 4 brush sizes. He has fucking 10. Like, his toolbox is way more full. So at that moment, I was like, no, fuck this. I'm fucking switching over to rotaries. And that's what I did, because just the convenience of being able to snap needles in and out. You have, if you wanted to put 30 needles out, you could. And so that's what I try to do, is I just utilize the toolbox and as much as I can. If I see something that has more value and will give me more opportunity to do what I know I can do without stress, then, because I used to use like a 7 mag and I'd have to use the edge to do things, or I couldn't, you know, before when I was using coils, I would use liners sometimes for like round shaders and stuff. So I just, or even shading. But with this, it's a little more mindless, and I can just like invest myself in the tattoo rather than having to be worried about, you know, whatever tools I'm using or the finicking stuff of the machine. But yeah, so I'll use whatever needles. My go-tos are 5s, 5 mag flat, like normal. I'll use 7 mag curves, standard long taper number 12s. I'll use like a 9 or 13 sometimes, depending on what I need it for. Sometimes I'll use a 17 or a 15, but those two I kind of like, I'll choose which one I need. And then at the, like very rare, but I do use it kind of often, I'll use like a 23 or a 27, you know. And I've used like a 50 mag and shit, like back in the day when I made needles. It was just fucking fun to make something crazy. And then like buy those tubes that were like 150 bucks, 200 bucks, dude, like stainless steel, right? It's crazy, I have like boxes of them.
Bigger mags for curve?
All curved, yeah, all curved. But I don't even use anything that big other than like a 27 anymore, just because they weren't available. I just seen that they have some now, so I want to try them. But yeah, that's pretty much
So you like the 15, 17s?
all curves. So this is it kind of moving, so you guys kind of see it. I think this was the first, no, this was the second pass on it. So I had done a second pass on it. Yeah, so this is the white pack twice, you know, but you guys can kind of see it.
You do that often, like do second pass on the full color piece?
On all full color. Because the way I see it is like this. So like, let's just say the first session on a color tattoo, you put in 300 DPI, right? Dots per inch. When it heals, you're gonna lose 50 to 100 DPI on any tattoo. I don't care if it's black, line work, whatever. It's just the body, like whatever flakes off, whatever's on the top layer of skin that heals, it's just gonna come off. So to me, my theory in my mind is with color work, especially when it's solid, it all looks great all the time. It has this glow, it has this luster. Once it heals and it lives in the body for about 6 months to a year, you can really see the holidays and things that are missing. And so that's when I'd like to do my second pass, because even if there's places overworked, they'll come back with like a milky area, and it might look okay, but like maybe in 6 months, it kind of shows there's a holiday there. And so I like to tell my clients, hey, come back. If I feel like it's my fault, I just do the session. But if I feel like it's necessary, like they've been in the sun or they just didn't take care of it, or even if it's just like, it's perfect, but they just want, because some of my clients will be like, I just want you to do it because you said it'll be better, but it doesn't need it, I'll charge them, you know, because it really doesn't need it.
Yeah.
But I have to play it by ear. But I definitely always tell clients, 6 months to a year, if you're able to, come back, and then we'll slightly adjust it to make it live in your body the way it looks as long as it can.
Nice.
So.
How much was that Joker and how many sessions did you do?
How much? $4.50 an hour, and then it probably took me 8 hours the first time. Honestly, probably like 10 hours the first two days. I only did like 5-6 hours a day, and then I probably did another like 4 hours a day. Yeah.
You say you only work 4 or 5 hours a day?
Yeah, I don't like to work long no more, man. I leave it up to you young guys. I'm not trying to prove nothing no more. Yeah. No, it's not even only that. It's like, you know, so after the 6 hour mark, for me, I'm not going to say for everybody, but for me, after the 6 hour mark on a tattoo, the body has to work really hard to heal. You're covering a lot of ground. You're doing a lot of damage to the skin. So what that means to me is that somebody needs to be really healthy. That means that they're eating healthy, they're drinking water, and hopefully taking some vitamins. And you know none of these motherfuckers are. You know what I mean? So 6 hours the cusp for a good healed tattoo. Anything over 6 hours, it's more of a gamble. It might need a little more touch-up. It's going to push out a bit more plasma. It's going to push out more ink. So I tend to break things up in 6 hours. If someone comes from far, I'm willing to do 8 to 10 hours. That's fine. But honestly, dude, my back, things like that, it's just not something I like to risk. 6 hours is a safe place for me. I know my back's not going to be killing me. I can do that 5 days a week, and I feel fucking great. If I do 10 hours a day for fucking 6 days, I'm fucking like this, you know what I mean? Uh-huh.
I recall the back injury. How did you manage to get over the back injury? I'm sure
I mean, I'm still dealing with it. I wear like an undershirt that keeps everything tight. I still exercise. I don't diet at all, so I just kind of eat whatever I want because I like to live my life. But I make sure to move. Like, I have to move, bro. Like, it's all about just keep moving. So that's what I do. I will do boxing, or I'll do weightlifting, or I'll ride a mountain bike, or I'll just fucking go on a walk with my dogs, or, you know, whatever it takes, like, or I'll work on my cars for a little bit, just like to get me sweaty because I live in a really hot place. But I try to keep my body moving and able, because I notice that if I stay stagnant, I don't do any kind of activity, like just to move, even washing my cars, dude, I try to like do things that are just physical. Like just say one day I go to my garage and I'm like, fuck it, don't feel like working out today. I'll wash my truck for an hour out in the sun. That's probably why I'm so dark, because I need to sweat. I need to like get moving. I need my body to heat up. I need the blood to flow in my body. I feel like that helps my back out the most. I have a really good chair I bought. If you guys go to Fully.com, there's a chair you can buy. Carlos Torres uses it. I got the information from Juan Puente. He told me about it when my back hurt. It's the best chair I've ever used. It's super comfortable. I tell everyone about it. If your back doesn't hurt now, it's going to. I'm just telling you right now, it's a fucking matter of time. And it's gonna get worse. So to invest $800 on a chair is, to me, the most important thing you can do. I watched Felipe tattoo at my shop, and that motherfucker is tattooing the way I did. Elbow on the knee, as bent over as you can. Fucking 10 hours a day, I did that shit until I was fucking like, oh my god.
We have a chiropractor come in sometimes just to talk to people and get knowledge and shit. He's talking about the way you sit.
Oh, yeah?
You sit like you're standing, it'll give your back more
For sure.
opportunity to.
And the less your legs are bent, the less like pressure's on your body. So like the more you're low like that, like what he was saying, the more pressure's on your spine. So as you lift up, so standing is actually the best way to tattoo, and not leaning over, you know. But yeah, chiropractor's perfect. I can't go to a chiropractor. I have a 10 millimeter herniated disc in my lower spine, my L5S1, from tattooing so many years. Yeah, and I live with it. 1 to 4 is like most people live with, and probably all of us here have that because we're tattooers and we hunch over. 5 to 9 is mandatory surgery, and then 10 and up is like terrifying because you can be fucking kicked in the back and probably go paralyzed. But I manage it. I try to drink water when I can, or you know, as much as I can, and you know, I try to keep active and move my body, because if I don't move my body, my chiropractor explained it like it's like a rusty hinge. It just will break open and get loose, and it's not strong. So like I just try to move. You know, I'm not trying to be like the epitome of health, but I try to keep my body like fucking going. Huh?
Back to the healing process.
Yeah.
Do you often do consecutive days on the same piece, or do you let it heal all the way before?
I'm good with 2 days. I don't really like 3-day tattoos unless it's like a huge area like a back or an arm where I can jump around, or a leg where I'm kind of jumping different areas and working out full sleeve. The problem I run into a lot with my clients right now is my clients always get tattooed by somebody days before I tattoo them, and they'll do like fucking 3 days. And then they roll in and they have this fucking brand new 3-day tattoo, and they're going to get tattooed by me for 2 days. And I already know this thing's gonna heal like shit. I'll tell them straight from the beginning, this thing's gonna heal like shit. I'm gonna fucking put so much pigment into your skin right now. I'm gonna beat the skin up, and you're already 3 days into healing. You spent 2 or 3 days with this other person. It's a big tattoo. Your body can only rejuvenate so much, so fast. And then after that, it's fucking downhill. So a lot of times I'm like, if you want me to do this, you're gonna pay twice for it, because I already know from experience that you're gonna have, at the worst case scenario, bad time healing. Best case scenario, you're super healthy, it heals fine. But you're running a gamble. So I kind of let them make a decision sometimes on, do you want to do it or not? Because if not, we're gonna wait. Sometimes it's better for me to do that rather than charge them twice. You know what I mean? And they get upset, but it's like, you shouldn't have got tattooed for 2 days or 3 days for 8 hours, 3 days before you come and get tattooed by me. But if they don't get tattooed by someone else and they're just coming for 2 days, yeah, no problem, I'll do it all day. Yeah. So, fighting reference. Oh, go ahead, put it.
When you said like a holiday in the skin, what does that mean?
Like where the pigment will be lighter. So let's just say you have a black patch and you make it solid. Well, sometimes with the bleeding and the bruising, you can't tell how well it's saturated. So if there's a light part, it's like a holiday. It's like taking vacation. You know what I mean? Yeah. Yeah. Huh?
Use Saniderm, any kind of medical?
I use Saniderm, yeah. But some of my clients have had bad healing. Like I work on a guy that I do the Baby Yoda on, and I'm working on a Star Wars sleeve, Mandalorian sleeve. A really good friend of mine, I've tattooed him for years, but he unfortunately can't heal with Saniderm. He's a really big guy. He's like 6'7", 6'8", and his tattoos are fucking massive. And he's my age. He's 40, and I just think that he has a certain allergic reaction to the adhesive. But then on top of that, it takes a lot for his body to fucking.
So that reaction is normal then.
Yeah, sometimes it's Saniderm. So I try to tell people if they have a reaction like a sensitive skin, we don't use it. We just normal heal it. Like I like to do a dry heal for a few days, just wash it, and then after it starts to like get too tight, then they can put a light coat of ointment on it or lotion. And then, but as long as you're keeping it clean, you know what I mean? I think that's important. No sun, things like that. But people have trouble, tattoos. I mean, the thing is, man, I was taking the BJ Vet seminar and Weiner. I was kind of like talking to them. And the one thing I want to stress to you guys, because I don't think it's something that's really communicated to everybody, is I don't give a fuck who it is, dude. Everybody has bad healing tattoos. Everybody deals with clients that don't take care of tattoos. If you're pushing boundaries of tattoos and trying new shit, you're gonna make mistakes. You can't let that, fix it, touch it up, do whatever you can. As long as you're not scarring them, you're fine. If things fall out, things happen. No one's perfect. So you gotta understand that everybody goes through these things, and people don't take care of their tattoos, dude. Some people fucking wanna go to the river and show up and be like, well, what do you mean? I never went to the river. You're like, dude, you're fucking burned. You're sunburned. It happens to everybody. So, but reference, I wanted to show you guys this because my reference, when you guys were asking me about the closeness of colors, they're not perfect. Do you know what I mean? The reference is this and the tattoo is this. I just stay with the values. The value is the most important thing you need to think about. No, you're good. Any questions? Uh-huh.
Yeah, how do you deal with clients that have very sensitive skin? You start coloring and it gets bloated and red as fuck.
You just gotta fucking commit and keep going. I'm gonna give you an example. I tattooed this older guy. He wanted a portrait of his wife that had passed away. He was 74. This guy was fucking ripped, dude. He was good shape, badass. I asked him, you have any health issues or anything? No, I'm good. I'm fucking good. So I start this portrait on him. And I'm not even kidding, dude. Running my needles shallow because he had thin skin. The blowout was fucking like 6-7 inches away. And I was like, oh my God, I can't tattoo you, dude. Like, I was like, inches, bro, like this far. Whoa. No. Yeah. And the guy was like, oh man, I thought everything would be fine. I just got off chemotherapy. My wife died. My cells aren't 100%. I just wanted the tattoo. And I was like, man, I can't finish it, you know? And he was a little upset, but he understood. And I mean, those things happen. You know, sometimes you have to take a break, or it's time to come back, or maybe if you think there's something that they did or they could do better, like if they're sunburned, or if you feel like maybe they're not that healthy of a person, say, hey man, can you get on a regimen of vitamins for like at least a couple weeks, drink a bunch of water, and then come back? That might help, because I mean, water stays in your skin, so like all these things help the person. So maybe giving them advice, like I'll tell people, hey man, you're fucking sunburned, man. Like, you're bleeding like crazy. I can't finish the tattoo. You gotta come back when summer's over. I'm sorry. You know, because it's fucked, dude. Like, it's like I can't even make it look right. And then my name's out on there with it. And they're like, yeah, Nikko did this. And then they're like, fuck, no one's gonna be like, I bet you were sunburned. They're like, you know? They're like, Nikko fucking sucks. You know? Fucking, dude. So I just have to call it where it is, you know? And I'm fortunate enough to be at that place. I understand people have to finish tattoos and do the thing. But I'm going to tell you, you put yourself in the position you want to put yourself into. Like, you make the choices that you need to make, you know. A lot of times we work for people and people get mad and they're like, oh, you fucking need to do the tattoo, the shop needs money. You got to live with your integrity. You got to make people understand, like, hey, you know, this is necessary. I'm doing my best. And if you have experience, like how long have you been tattooing?
7 years.
Yeah, so I mean, you have enough experience to be able to call it and be like, you know, this is not feeling right. To be honest, man, I try to do my best to do things even when I don't want to do them now, because it's something I had to teach myself, because I've been real like, fucking free bird, you know, just like, I don't feel like doing shit today, or I don't feel like tattooing today, or can we reschedule? But now, honestly, if I feel like something's off, or like, I'm having a really, these guys have experienced a lot. I'm like an emotional guy, so like, I'll have anxiety, or like, I'll have a rough day, and I'll have to communicate with my clients. Like, look, man, I know you really want to get tattooed. I'll offer them a better deal sometimes, just to like, make it easier for them. But there's some days I'm just like, oh man, I don't think I can give you my best. And you want something really good for me, and I need to be honest. You know, I'm having a bad day. And so I try to do that. And we're fortunate enough sometimes to be in that position. You know, I know sometimes, if it's a small tattoo, I'll bang it out. But a lot of the tattoos I'm doing require a lot of energy, require a lot of time. And I need to be 100% for these people, because it's permanent, and I want to give it my best. You know, and so that's the quality is the most important to be in the end. So,
How far out do you put, like, you know, obviously we have our guidelines, but, you know, what do you give yourself in 2 months, or, you know?
So my schedule, I do 4 days a week tattooing. And I think I'm gonna move it with 3 with the beginning of the Seam Company, just because I'll do 1 day in LA, and then I'll do 2 days in Hesperia, and then the rest will be like me working on this new company. But what I was doing is 4 days. I would do, you know, 2 days, Monday, Tuesday, and then Wednesday, Thursday, or Friday, Saturday. Or Thursday, Friday, or Friday, Saturday. And then Wednesday was like my float day. My Wednesday is like if I need to reschedule someone, or someone that I wanted the tattoos in town, or a friend wants to get tattooed, or I have something business-wise to do. Wednesdays and Saturdays are kind of the filler days, to make sure I get everything checked off the week, you know? And so some days it seems like maybe I'm not working, but like, it's like, even with these guys, but it's like, there's so much stuff coming up or going on that I need to like focus on those things. And so I do a lot of shit. So like, I'm always fucking doing something. And so I need to do it that way for right now, just 4 days a week.
I have a question about you saying you're doing a lot of things. You obviously have multiple businesses, you know, all this stuff. How do you stop your brain from continuing, like at the end of the day, how do you slow that process? How do you go to sleep?
How far and high as fuck, bro. Yeah, I get high as fuck.
Yeah.
Like fucking blacked out high. Smoking till I pass out on my bed, and then I wake up and I'm like, let's start this again. You know what I mean? That's how I deal with it. You know what I mean? I book out 3 months at a time. Nothing more. Sometimes I'm a week out. Just because That's the way it is. And I'm like, okay, I gotta book these people. I'm really fortunate to be in that situation where I can stay busy. I keep the same clients. I tattoo a lot of the same people. Keep it kind of simple. I like to tattoo people I meet because I feel like that energy is right. You know, it's hard to tattoo. You know, I mean, I tattoo strangers too, but like a lot of these people are reoccurring, or I met them with someone else, and so I try to keep it easy like that. 3 months is kind of like my cutoff, because anything beyond 3 months, I mean, fuck, it's too far ahead to even like schedule. I used to do years, but what happened by doing years was in 3 months time, 6 months time, 1 year time, people's lives completely change. People that had money don't have money, people move, and so then you have all of a sudden, you know, schedule problems. And I mean, I get it, like a lot of people are like, I'm booked out a year, I'm not taking appointments. Fuck that, dude, I'll fucking take any appointment. If you fucking have a cool idea, that's what Wednesday's for, right? Like, I just wanna, like, you know, that's the truth. Like, I'll tattoo anybody. I still do little tattoos, dude. I mean, these guys have all seen it. Like, I may not show it, but like, I'll do some little tattoos on somebody. Like, somebody will write and be like, I want this tattoo, and I'll tell them my minimum, and they want to pay it. I'm like, fucking sick, come do it. I'll bang that little tattoo out. I mean, honestly, dude, I'll do like $400 for an hour, because it's like, you know, I don't really get crazy. It's like, oh, you want to do that little lettering for $400? Fucking come on. You know, I'll throw it out there, but it's like an hour, and it's like, oh, cool, you know, or like a little tattoo. I'll just do that. If they want me to do it, I'll do it on my day off or on a Wednesday, real quick. You know, so. Because those are fun, dude. They're fucking fun. I know you do it once in a while. It's fun. You know what I mean? Just to do a little banger and go home. Yeah. Like I fucking envy that banger. I'm like, I never get to fucking just bang a tattoo out. Like, I wish I learned that. I think I should learn it now, because I'm like, I'll just do the traditional road. Not that it's easy at all. All the preparation's in the drawing. But when you tattoo it, you can fucking, if you're good at it, fucking in and out, badass tattoo. Fuck man, I fucking admire it. But,
Do you still get challenged, like, when you do, like, the tinier tattoos, you know, like, say they want, like, a perfect circle or something? You still feel, like, challenged when you go back to do
I use a rotary. It sucks to do those kinds of things. But yeah, it's a challenge, man. Every tattoo's a challenge. I mean, you're challenged by the client, you're challenged by their personality, you're challenged by, you know, them being able to sit, their skin, their health. Like, it's a challenge, man. I mean, tattooing's hard. But you had someone over here had a question?
Yeah. So other than the like obvious gray that created the dark zone on top of the stem, are those skin breaks, or did you saturate the skin?
It's solid skin. It's called a solid tattoo.
Oh,
yeah.
okay.
You know, when I was taught how to tattoo, they always told me that a color tattoo was solid. That's what they told me. They were like, you always saturate it all. I don't know why this is how I was taught. So that was ingrained in my brain. And so when I did color portraits, that's just how it went, you know. And there's all different ways to do it. I've seen great skin breaks with Tim Hendricks that did color pieces. This guy, Obi Hughes, had a real beautiful like color piece that was a painting on a forearm. And it was open skin, like rounds brushed out to open skin. It was fucking beautiful. You know, these are things I do. To be honest, like, if you draw, like, let's just say this. I'm gonna give you a story, right? When I started tattooing, I went to Mario Bart's biggest tattoo show on earth. It was in New Jersey. When I met all my heroes, Robert Hernandez, Bob Terrell, and there was a guy, St. Mark, there. You guys might have seen him on Ink Master. But this guy, St. Mark, changed my life. He changed my mind. Like, he really, like, gave me some fucking gold nuggets. So I gave him my portfolio, and it was just like Cherry Creek Flash, a couple of tattoos that were like, whatever, you know? And then I had a couple of drawings. Like, I had a Henry Rollins drawing, I had like a Frankenstein drawing, the Shining drawing, and their pencil drawing. And he's like, dude, your fucking tattoos suck. He's like, but your drawings are awesome. He's like, why are your drawings awesome and your tattoos suck? And I was like, oh, tattooing's so fucking hard though. It's so different. And he looked at me and he was like, is it really? I was like, yeah. And he's like, it's not. It's not. So if you can draw it, you can tattoo it. He's like, when you go home, and this is what I'm gonna give you guys. When you guys go home, if you can draw it, you can tattoo it. The thing is people around us will give us limitations. We'll say, oh, you don't tattoo it that way. You need an outline. Or you need this, or you need fucking, I don't know, do a cartwheel before you do it. I don't know. It's always these fucking rules, right? It's always all these rules of like, this is how it's done. And there is truth to that. But at the same time, if you have knowledge that you've acquired through hours of drawing or hours of experience, utilize that and bring it into tattooing. Because that knowledge that makes you unique will also make your work unique. So you need to like trust yourself and not always ingest everybody's rules. Make your own rules. Break the rules. Break their rules. I'll give you a perfect example. I did my first portrait, right? I made my stencils were like all these fucking squiggly lines, right? And that was probably of a dinosaur. Here's another reference, but we're gonna move forward a little bit. Motherfucker. I'm just gonna show you guys real quick, just because. Hopefully this is going good. You guys doing good?
Oh yeah.
You guys aren't bored as fuck. You guys have any questions? Am I moving too far, too fast? No?
Yeah. So how do you transition into different hues of color? Do you like feather it out and then go in with another color, or do you just have the exact color ready next to it?
Yeah, I do like a half and half method. I'll talk about that right now.
Hey bro, I heard a rumor that you were building a bus.
Yeah, I am.
Cause you know, I'm the body art boss. I'm Joey. I'm the one that's been messaging you like a motherfucker trying to keep up with it.
Really? Really? Oh, you? Oh yeah. Did you send me a picture? I have like 10 people send me pictures of their buses. But if you send me one today, I'll answer and we can talk and stuff. Yeah. My dad, huh?
I have it in the loading dock now.
Do you really? Oh, sick. I want to see it, dude. My dad, he got a bus, that old bus, and he didn't want to sell it. So I was like, I'll buy it. And so we're gonna work on it and see. I figured it'd be something cool.
So I made 2 so far. I made a 3rd one for an artist in Alaska. I just drove it up there to her.
Really?
Drove it over to her. I'm gonna start building it.
That's badass.
I heard you were building it. I heard Jeremy, and I was like, bro, you need to connect me with Nikko. So
Yeah, I'll get your info today before we leave. We're gonna talk. It'll be cool. I'll give you my info and stuff. That's awesome. I did see some cool ones that people had sent me, so I don't know if I've seen yours, but we'll see.
I think I sent you. What color was it? Those gold and a white one.
I didn't see it.
They're all fully airbrushed.
It's fucking badass, dude.
Yeah,
I kind of want to see it.
I put my pops on the side of mine.
Really?
Yeah.
I'm gonna go see it. Yeah, that's who I got it from my dad. My dad, I'm buying it from him. I haven't paid him for it, but we're gonna do it all up. I figured it'd be cool for like, I don't know. I don't even know, dude. I don't even know.
You're gonna talk, and I'll tell you all the cool.
Okay, cool.
My first one was 2010.
That's awesome.
That's why you remember at the Solon fucking video film release they did in LA. I had my little one there.
I don't know. I don't remember. I got the worst memory though, bro. Like, don't take that like.
Well,
I'm fucking yeah, some weed. I'm like, I don't even. What were we doing here? But yeah, someone else asked me a question about stencil.
Yeah.
What was it again? The stencil question?
Who was it?
You got it?
Sorry.
All right, what was it? Oh, I was gonna tell you the story. So, when I started making my stencils like this, I did my first portrait like this. When tattooers used to do portraits, they would just make it simple and basic, you know, like just the outline. But this is what I was comfortable with. And so, when I made my stencil, the girl that was teaching me how to tattoo told me, "You'll never pull it off. It's all wrong." And I was like, okay. She's like, "You're gonna fuck up, you're gonna get lost." I was apprentice, you know, I was probably about 6 months into tattooing, I made my stencil like that. I figured it wiped away. And, you know, I had seen, the only other person I had seen come close to that was After, and Bob did it, but he used to do like dotted lines. And so I tattooed it, and it worked. Like the portrait wasn't great, but it wasn't bad. So fast forward 6 months, she was doing her stencils like that. And so now, the stencils are even evolved more now. Now you can print out a fucking image. And I've tried it, and it's so difficult. I can't even do it. I mean, I haven't dedicated enough time to learn, and I'm just used to this. Joe Capobianco would always tell me that these were my training wheels. He's like, "When are you gonna get your training wheels?" I'm like, "I don't know, I'm fucking comfortable, man. Leave me alone. Let me live my life." Yeah, pick my number. Let me live my life. So yeah, so I mean, that's kind of like a little story with like the whole thing with that. But I'm gonna go back here. Oh, you guys want to see this? Okay, so this is a reference, right? So I kind of want to show you guys how I do it with my Procreate. So like, I'll spine images, and then I'll Photoshop it. I'll lay it over the arm. I'll take a photo of my client's arm, and then I design it above, you know, in order to make it fit. And then I go from there. And then we do the process to make the tattoo. But I use my computer for everything, you know what I mean? And it's cool because, you know, when I first started tattooing, I was tattooing about 6 months. It was the same show I went to in Mario Bart's show. And Guy Atchison, who knows who Guy Atchison is here?